They are.
True.
The fact that you have 3 of Merlin goats in the deck, chef's kiss.
I don't know. Sean, would you kiss a Merlin goat?
Would I kiss him?
Hold on.
Definitely.
And you're the one that said it was a chef's kiss. So I asked our resident chef.
Yeah, that's true.
And I would indeed. Can confirm.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 28 of the Glimmer Gang Podcast. We have set 3 information. We have new locations, which are going to be a new card coming to Disney Lorcana. We're going to talk all about those today. But before we do that, let's see how the rest of the boys are doing. Sean, how are you doing today, sir?
Marvelous, my friend. I'm doing fantastic.
Even after the Bears beat the Lions? You still... even after that?
Even after that.
There you go.
There comes a point in every Lions fan's career of being a fan that you just, you kind of deal with it. You kind of just, there's a small part of you that just expects it,
I can say the same with the Bears. Blake, how are you doing today, sir?
I am doing very well. Had a very lovely day meeting up with some fellow Canadians up here. We did a little mini sealed event where we each opened a trove, and I had a pretty hot trove. I got a foil legendary steel beast and 2 legendary Madam Mims, the purple dragon.
Hey, there you go.
So my collection is filling out pretty nice for this set, so I'm pretty excited to see what decks I can put together soon.
There you go. Gotta love some good pulls. And Spencer, how are you doing today, sir?
I am. Sorry, I'm doing fine. Nothing too exciting.
Yeah, lazy Sundays are always fun. So the real meat of this episode is obviously going to be about locations. We got the announcement for set 3, last week, and with that came the reveal of locations. And this past Friday, Steve, along with Rochelle and Jessica, hopped onto the official Disney Lorcana Discord server and did a little Q&A after explaining what locations were. But basics of location is they all have the cost in the top left-hand corner. Some are going to be inkable, some are not going to be inkable. They come into play horizontal already, so they're not going to be exerted or ready. They're just in play. When in play, characters move there. The number on the left side, which is like a different looking shield, is the cost for characters to move to said location. Characters can only be at one location at a time. If a second location is in play, they can move to that one, but they must pay the cost, obviously. The willpower symbol is just that, and locations can be challenged by your opponent's glimmers. And then the lore symbol on locations means at the start of your turn, doing the set phase of ready, set, draw, you gain the equal lore amount to the lore counter. So on the Forbidden Mountain, which is the location we have revealed, you would gain 1 at the start, and you do not need a character to gain lore, or at the location to gain that lore. And I think the biggest thing that comes out of these is that passive lore gain at the start of each turn. You look at Forbidden Mountain, it's a common, it's a 2 cost, and it has 6 willpower on it. So taking that out is going to be a rather difficult task earlier in the game when you have smaller characters. But Sean, I want to get your thoughts on locations as a whole, and how do you think these are really going to shape up Lorcana?
On the whole, I think they're really fun. I think it's something that all the people in this community have wanted these from before day one. I remember hours of us speculating and talking with other members that were here before the initial release, and a lot of us, before we knew the whole set, were sure that there was going to be location cards. The locations in Disney movies are almost as iconic as the characters and songs themselves. So I think this is a no-brainer. I think it's a good move. I definitely think that these are going to shake up the game as we know it. It's something we haven't experienced yet. One fear I do have is that if there aren't enough answers put out in set 1, or set 3 rather, then they're going to run rampant and be more of a problem as opposed to a solution to the meta.
Yeah, I know something that is obviously been talked about is all of the removal cards we have so far only target characters, and you have 204 cards in a set, but most of the removal that we have right now has come from 2 different sets. And so having to smush that all into one for set 3 is going to be interesting to see. But Blake, I want to go to you next. What are your thoughts on locations, and what are these going to mean for Lorcana?
Definitely think they're looking pretty interesting to see. As far as we've seen so far, we've only seen a couple characters that care about them, so I'm very interested to see the locations that'll actually come with some effects themselves and what those will look like. I wouldn't be too concerned about removal because they can be challenged just like any character.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it'll be too hard to deal with locations, especially when you got cards like the Legendary Scar and Maui that can just rush in and just take out locations potentially, if depending on how high the willpower is for these locations, how high they go. But it'll be interesting to see it shake out.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely got a ton more of the set to go, so we still have a lot to see for it.
Yeah, I mean, we only have 4 cards out of 204. So obviously, I think we all know that there's going to be stuff included that will combat locations, but also beef them up. I think we could see stuff like that as well. But Spencer, last but not least, what are your thoughts on locations?
I'm pretty much with Blake. 2 main things stand out to me are, one, I'm waiting to see more about location interaction, as well as locations that do things on their own. Like right now, we just had the vanilla of Red Mountain, and like, cool, it sits there and it gains lore. And if I've got stuff that care about locations, they can do things. But I want locations that do things without characters that care about locations. So if we see some of those, and then that'll be super exciting. And then as far as the location removal thing, I'm actually very happy about it because, Control has been running rampant for, 2 sets now, basically. And, with Steel Song also having a whole thing with dealing damage and things of that nature. And locations don't care about those things. And so it's going to force a shift in the meta. And I'm excited to see how that shakes out, and to see it challenging and things of that nature being more relevant than just playing something that wipes the board.
Yeah, I think obviously we don't know the true power of locations. We don't know how good they're going to be. We don't know. Well, I think we do have some sort of thoughts on how good they're going to be. And I think we know they're going to be a staple. Obviously, I think one of the biggest things we've talked about is the reason we don't have the full rule set is because locations are probably mentioned in there a lot. But there is a lot to learn. There is a lot to see with these cards come. And personally, I'm with Sean. I think that if there's not enough removal, they are going to be a problem. But it also just adds that next step to the game. It adds the next cog in the whole wheel of being able to build a deck that is going to win, but also can defend against these decks that obviously are going to have these new cards. And so I think that, like I said, we have a lot to see. But what we're going to go into now is the Q&A part of locations, which basically the community that was in there, I think there was around 500 people in there listening, were able to ask questions for Steve Warner to answer. And we wrote a list of everything that was there, and I split them up into 4 different question sets. So the first one is what we're going to talk about. It's just 4 different questions. I believe the question was, what happens when the location is banished? You fall off that location and you just go back into a regular play area. But you can't leave a location if you don't have another location in play. Bodyguards do not protect locations. Rapunzel cannot heal locations. And Steve referred back to the card saying that it's a character, and when Rapunzel plays, she wants to heal a character, but there could be cards that heal locations. And then the final question for this question set is, why would it be good to have a character at a location? Characters like Peter Pan gain lore when moving to location. I don't think there's anything real surprising with these. I think the biggest thing is you can't leave locations. If you don't have another location in play, you can't just like jump back once you've moved to it. That character's there until they target something or that location is removed, obviously. But Blake, I'll go to you first. Out of this 4 first questions, did anything pop out to you or anything that surprises you with this?
Yeah, the biggest thing to really come from this is making sure that we're reading the cards now a lot more closely, seeing what it mentions you can do with the cards, especially for banishing and healing effects. Uh, the distinction between characters, locations, and all of that. So that's something I see a lot of being brought up in future competitive events as far as misplays go.
Mm-hmm.
So I see that being unconcerned, but it is mainly just read the card to make sure you're playing it right. But
Yeah.
other than that, the movement thing, until we see something that cares about characters being at a location, the being stuck out of the location doesn't seem like too much of a negative, other than unless it's not really doing anything. Like you wouldn't want to move a vanilla character to the Forbidden Mountain because that does nothing for you, really, as far as we've seen. So
yeah,
we'll have to see what shakes out of that in the future.
Yeah, we've gotten cards like the Peter Pan, which has an ability that triggers when you move to location, stuff like that. So obviously, like you said, you want to be reading your cards. I think for any TCG player, we know that if we don't read cards, it can end badly for us. I've ran into that problem too many times. But Spencer, I'll go to you next. What do you think about this first question set that we got from Steve?
I mean, it makes sense. I'm, the bodyguard thing, the Rapunzel thing, all that is just, like we said about just reading the text. And then it is nice that there's no like detriment to being at a location and then it being banished. Like, the location just goes away and then they're back on the wherever the battle happens. That's not a location. I don't know. So yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And then you, Sean, anything you have more to add on question set 1?
It is nice that, like Spencer just said, that there's no negative ramifications from being on a location when it's banished. That's pretty cool. I do want one clarification. I didn't see in the location basics that we have here. Are locations considered glimmers?
Yes, they are.
Everything in the game is a glimmer.
That is true. Everything in the game is a glimmer, I believe.
Well, I didn't know if I just didn't know if it had been stated or
yeah,
whatever,
Yeah.
That's what you totally made me lose my train of thought.
Sorry,
I got the rules. Not you. No, him. He's the one that came in all rules lawyering on me.
Well, technically, glimmer is a rules lawyering thing because it's not a keyword that exists within the game.
That was where I was going with this. Honestly, was I believe that we'll end up getting things that say remove glimmer or target glimmer. Because it's all it would be the similarity that I can draw is to Magic the Gathering when a card says target permanent, because anything that sticks on the board is a permanent. So it's the same feel there, so that you can have these actions or songs or abilities that can target all of those things. Like it could hit an item, it could hit a character, it could hit a location. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just see down the road we'll see something like that, I'm sure. As far as bodyguards not protecting locations, I actually went and had to reread the rules text of bodyguard just to make sure that it said character, because that's immediately where my mind went. In order to protect locations, I don't know that we'll see. We could see a locations version for bodyguard. Whether we see it immediately, I'm not sure. Again, there's going to be stuff that'll heal specifically locations, just like Rapunzel does for characters. I would imagine some way down the road at least. And yeah, so like Peter Pan, our one real payoff at this point that we've seen, because Minnie Mouse +2 strength, that's okay, but you know, it's once per turn when this character moves to a location, gain lore equal to that location's lore. I really like the fact that they went ahead and said once per turn on his ability, because that could get very out of hand very quickly.
Yeah.
So I think they're being really forward thinking with locations too. That's going to be really nice in the future. Yeah, there's going to be, and you have to think the Forbidden Mountain costs 2, and it's inkable.
Mm-hmm.
So like this is like a really low level location. Is if we can like draw a comparison between characters and items and cost.
Mm-hmm.
If it transfers over completely, then we're going to be seeing like 7-8 drop locations. I keep wanting to say lands. 7 or 8 cost locations that do some ridiculous stuff, have multiple lore on them. Maybe they even have their own form of protection built in, all sorts of fun stuff. So only time will tell, you know.
Now that you said like the thing about bodyguard, I could honestly see like although like locations, like I don't think it would be a lot of locations because I think that would make it too powerful, but like maybe 1 per color, or maybe 3 different cards that say it's basically the bodyguard version for locations. Like you have to challenge and get rid of that location before you can get rid of other locations. So I could definitely see something like that. Like maybe like a prison. If there's like, I don't know if there's a famous prison in Disney that I'm not thinking of, or something like that, or like gates or something that like you have to like go through those before you can get to whatever you want to get to. But now moving on to question set 2. The first one was characters don't have to be dry to move to location. So you can play it down, and then if you have enough ink to move them to the next location, you can pay the move cost and go right there. Moving does not exert the character. You can still do anything you want to. No limit to the number of characters at a single location, and they are protected from Be Prepared. Again, just calling out to that Be Prepared says characters and not anything else. Sean, I'll go to you first for this one. What stands out from this set of questions that you think is noteworthy?
The fact that there's no limit to the number of characters that can be at a single location. So let's say there ends up being a very good location that rewards you for having. Maybe it'll reward you for having like characters with specific amounts of lore or with specific cost on them, and you'll get a benefit from that. At that point, you can kind of just build your defenses around this one spot and then stack up.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's pretty fun.
Yeah, I think I do think we're gonna see a location that has the ability that says like whenever or like how many characters are at this location, that's how many lore it gets. Something like I think I saw someone say like in Sapphire, like how they have their ramp with Alice with like Challenger, or the Bell with how many cards are in the ink, something like that that says how many characters at this location. That's how much lore you gain in that. Blake, I'll go to you next for question set 2. Is there anything that jumps out here to you?
The main one that jumps out to me is characters not having to be bribed to go ahead and move. So it is nice, especially for like Peter Pan, being able to play him out and you pay the move cost immediately to get that lore is pretty nice for him. So I wonder what other cards we'll see that will be able to benefit from playing and then immediately getting to move to a location.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's the big one for me. Is and definitely leaves you a lot of ways to play, and you don't feel too bad playing your locations early, unless your opponent has a big board of characters that can get rid of
Mm-hmm.
it before you get to do anything with it. So very interested to see how that strategy will shake up.
Yeah, I definitely want to play around with that strategy and see how it works. But Spencer, I don't know why I was about to say Sean. Spencer, what do you think about question set 2, and what does this stuff bring to the table?
No further comments.
No further comments. Moving on to question set 3, we learned that opponents cannot move to your location, which I think is kind of expected. Locations don't protect characters in any way unless they specifically say they provide a benefit. So that's a little insight, maybe a key that we're going to see something like that in the future. Well, the reason they did this is because they wanted to have us a basic understanding of locations. Once they start saying stuff, we'll understand their references to locations. And they said the best way to signify a character is at a location by placing the character below the location. Personally, for me, I feel like how I'm going to set up my board is I'm ink on the bottom, my characters who are just in the active area over on the right, and then my locations on the left and the characters next to it, because I still want to be able to see the text on both cards. So I think that's just personal preference.
I don't think they mean the card on top of the other cards. I think they mean you have the location
underneath
slightly
on the
above
board.
it, and then
okay, yeah,
underneath
that
on the
does
board.
yeah, that makes a lot more sense now that I think about it. But Blake, I'll go to you. What do you think about question set 3? Anything that jumps out here? I feel like this is kind of all.
How about you pass it to Spencer first, so he gets to say something this time?
Have I not passed it to him? Okay, let's just redo that. That's a bad night. So Spencer, I'll kick it to you first. What do you think about question set 3, and is there anything that jumps out to you here?
It all makes sense, Teddy.
It all makes sense. Yeah. I didn't really think that there was much in this one. Spencer, Sean, or Blake, do you have anything here that would provide more commentary than Spencer's few words?
I tried to throw Spencer a bone and give him something to talk about since he got shorted the last one. He does that to me.
It's just, what's there to say, man?
We're a podcast. We talk about things.
We gotta have things to talk about. To talk about things.
I will just make a comment on opponents not moving to your location, so it's not something that benefits both sides. And when I first saw or thought about locations way back when we were speculating on them way back in the day and seeing them in other games and just seeing what they could be, I just think it's interesting that you don't have to be at a location to challenge characters at that location. It just makes sense to me to have it that way, but I guess I'll just have to see how it plays out, because it just kind of makes sense that, hey, you're at this location, I'm at this location, I'm going to challenge you here, a la Marvel Snap style or things like that.
I mean, I do want to say one thing. This locations don't protect characters in any way unless they specifically say they provide a benefit. Is that what Steve said?
Yes, I believe so.
That's pretty cool. I mean, that shows that they're going to have that at some point. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said that.
Mm-hmm.
Said it that way. You know what I mean? So that's cool.
Yeah, he was very careful with answering.
Right.
A lot of them, he went ahead and said, we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. There was a lot of that.
Yeah, I think one of his funnier comments was, I can't say anything. I know Rochelle's not in the same room as me, but I can feel the glare. And that kind of made me laugh.
She's always watching.
Monsters Inc. confirmed.
Pixar win.
Oh, can we take a little tangent from locations right
That
now
was good.
and talk about how awesome it is that we're getting Disney tunes? So I'm just waiting for Gargoyles and Mighty Ducks.
That is
Oh,
true.
dude. DuckTales, let's go.
I was going to bring that up at the end and just have a little moment of talking about what we want to see from locations and the Disney tunes that were confirmed. And more Treasure Planet confirmed.
Yeah, lots of stuff confirmed. Which that's going to be really, it's going to be really cool to see, I think.
Oh, so somebody actually, I didn't get a chance to see the whole Steve thing. So somebody actually asked him if Disney Tunes was part of it, and he confirmed it?
Well, I mean,
It was part of the Set 3 announcement.
yeah.
Oh, okay then. Fair enough.
Yep.
Oh, because Scrooge is on the deck box in the sleeve.
Yeah.
They confirmed both DuckTales and Tailspin.
Yeah.
I don't know that I could have loved this game any more than I already did, but if that's possible, I do now.
Hey, that's how I'm feeling. As soon as we see Pixar and as soon as we see cars come into this game, I'm going to be over the top.
All I know at this point is if DuckTales are confirmed, then at some point I am getting RoboDuck, and I life goal met.
Life cool, man.
Giz-
Darkwing
Gizmo
Duck, that's
Duck?
going to send the community through a loop. Everyone's
Darkwing Duck's going to
to
be crazy awesome.
I really hope. Legendary,
Goof Troop.
Enchanted
Goof Troop,
Darkwing
yes.
Duck. Enchanted Darkwing Duck.
Let's
Oh.
go. Let's go.
Rescue Rangers. Oh, goodness.
Gargoyles. I'm just going to keep
Possibilities
saying
are endless.
gargoyles.
Gargoyles.
Oh my gosh! Don't even start. Yeah, don't even start. That would. Oh my gosh, that'd be so insane.
Plus, there's a new Gargoyles movie coming out. Like, you know it's happening.
Oh, that means like, well, we're. I mean, they. If you think about it, they kind of had to because like it's going to open up all of the sequels.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that
Mhm.
Disney Toon Studios did, I think, all of the sequels pretty much.
Except
Yeah.
for Frozen 2, yeah.
So, we're going to see a lot. Here.
Oh,
Yep, that's true. That's true.
I'll get my Lion King 2 stuff.
Oh,
love those
gosh,
characters.
Lion King too. Well, like I said, we can dream. And I have a very, if I'm a betting man, I can bet that we're going to see a lot of those characters come.
Are you old enough to bet?
No.
No. So, no, I'm not. I'm not. We don't have to call that out.
Too late.
We can move on to question set 4, which is our final question set before we get into our just like overview of what we want to see from locations. Question set 4, any number of locations can be played in once, but obviously limited to the standard deck building rules. 2 ink colors, only 4 copies in a deck. They are considered in play. The reason they did horizontal artwork was easy to identify them, more room for art. Reckless doesn't specify that a character must be challenged. Therefore, if a location is play, a character with Reckless must challenge the location, which I think is a good design piece. I didn't realize that until I actually read this. So I think that's something that's nice. Is anything that's Reckless can go after? We'll have to go after a location. But Spencer, I'll go to you first for this one. Is there anything you want to talk about here? Anything in question set 4 that catches your eye?
Sure, yeah. I think the fact that we can have any number of locations is cool. It's going to enable us to do some of those bouncy things, as well as give you options, to build into your deck depending on, what your situation is. Just, tech out for different things. The fact they're considered in play is obvious to me. Horizontal artwork, I'm going to hate seeing them on my hand. It's going to drive me absolutely bonkers, but I am going to appreciate it when it's on the field. And the Reckless thing, I think that's really cool because, locations don't have strength. So it actually makes Reckless a little bit stronger because they're going to be able to challenge into locations and not get clapped back, which is really nice. Gives you a little bit more of a safety net for your Reckless characters if you're, running those. And then on that note, I'm also going to use this to talk about the whole banishing locations thing, since we mentioned it a little bit earlier, but I had another point. Is that people are so worried about having things that allow them to directly banish location, but the thing that you got to consider is locations come into play exerted. It's not like a character that comes in ready and you can't do anything to it unless you have a specific card or character that can challenge something ready, or an ability or action that can remove ready characters. They come in exerted, which means if you have characters on the board, they can challenge into it immediately. If you have rush characters, they can challenge into it immediately. Like, you can immediately interact with locations, so you don't need to have as many of these banish whatever situations, because you have that ability to interact with them before they're able to do something like quest. So that's my soapbox.
My only worry about that is I think that we're going to see some really, really big willpowers on locations. A 2-drop starts at 6. Like, to me, that just we'll probably hit double digits. So,
oh yeah.
Still though, it doesn't disprove your point at all, Spencer. That they can absolutely get swung into right away. Like, it just comes down to, is that going to be enough? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I think Maui's going to become even more powerful now. That
he's going to be just as strong as he's always been. You mean?
He's
been beating up on people since day one.
That is true, but there's another reason to play him in the deck, is what I mean.
That's true. No, another. That's absolutely right.
One thing, mentioning that the big willpowers and things and whatnot is on the locations is right now in the game, we haven't seen, outside of support, any plus strength stuff be meta relevant. So that might actually bring these buffs into play in the game that we're not seeing played right now.
We're gonna see a lot of different colors come into play, I think, with.
It's a good thing though. It's going to shake
thing.
things up. It's going to shake things up, and it's getting to the point where it's needed. Like Spencer said earlier, Control's pretty much dominated from day one. So like, let this be the thing that can shake it up.
Oh yeah, like you said, it's going to shake everything up, and it's a great thing. And I mentioned this earlier, but I also want to say it now that we talked all about locations is. We should get the comprehensive rules here soon. I think I wonder if it'll come right when set 3 releases, just because they're going to be revealing cards up until then, and there might be some of those cards in the full rules. But I think once we get those, that's going to kind of just not lock everything in place, because you look at any TCG, there's new mechanics that have been introduced after the full rules. But I think there's a reason we don't have them yet, and it's because locations are such a vital part of this game that we are going to get them soon. It would only make sense. There have obviously been a lot of questions and stuff that we have to try to dig up and such, but once we have those, it's going to make things a lot better. I know Spencer will be really happy to have the full rules with his judging stuff. But yeah, locations. The biggest new card. But the last thing I want to do, like Blake mentioned a little earlier, is what locations do we want to see? I know that personally, I think Cinderella's Castle will be really cool. Or I guess Prince Charming's Castle.
So basic.
I think Elsa's Ice Castle will be something that we see. That was very delayed. It's okay. What other locations? I think Pride Rock is one we'll see. Cave of Wonders. I keep going on and on because there's so many.
Okay, give us a chance, Teddy.
I know. Jeez. I was ending there.
Do you want us to participate or what?
I said 4. I said the 4 I was looking forward to.
You said like 2 of the big ones, man. Come on.
What do you want me to do?
You said the 2 I was gonna say.
Those are 2 of my favorite locations.
Blake, do you have Let me think of some new ones.
Sean, you got any while Blake sits there and thinks?
The Anaheim Arena.
Okay, so since DuckTales is in it, the Money Bin would be sick.
Oh yeah. Ooh. The Money Bin, that would be
I can't remember what it's called, but Louis Bar from Tailspin, that'd be another really fun one to see. Captain Hook's ship, that
Jolly
would be kind of cool, or whatever
Neverland
the
in
Roger
general
would be really cool. Yeah, Neverland in general would be amazing. You could do the Elephant Graveyard from Lion King as well.
Oh,
That'd be a
yeah.
really fun one.
Let's see. We have the west wing of the Beast's Castle.
Mhm.
Yep.
That was a pretty prominent location.
What else?
Yensid's study from Fantasia, where Sorcerer Mickey was.
For sure.
Rapunzel's Tower.
Agrabah itself, not necessarily
Yeah.
even the Cave of Wonders. Yep, Rapunzel's Tower.
Rapunzel's Tower. I'm just going down. Let's look.
Zootopia.
Zootopia, the city, Judy's farm, the police station, some there.
Witch Mountain, I think that would be really fun to see. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's kind of a deep cut
That
for
is a deep cut, but
Disney.
I feel like we're gonna see a good amount of deep.
The
cut
100 Acre Wood.
locations. Yeah.
Ariel's
rabbit hole.
Grotto.
Oh yeah, the grotto.
Ursula's cave or whatever.
Going back to Fantasia, Bald Mountain, where Chernobog
Yes.
is.
Ooh, yeah.
I'm
I'm so ready
Did
for
anybody
the
say
Chernobog.
Wonderland yet? Wonderland would be a great one, just in general.
Yeah. I feel like we could definitely see like those. Obviously, like we have the specific locations, but we could see like the overarching. I don't know which word it is. Locations like Agrabah, like Wonderland, like Neverland. I think definitely those will be there. If I don't see why they wouldn't be. What else? Arendelle.
Yeah.
Tefiti from
Yeah.
Moana.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That could be a character too.
Cuscotopolis.
Cuscotopolis.
Yes.
And one particular set of locations that I've been begging for since before we knew about locations is if they did stuff set on the theme parks. So we got locations like the Haunted Mansion, the Matterhorn, Space Mountain, stuff like that.
Oh yeah, that was something I thought of was like the locations in Disney World.
The Fa family shrine.
Yes. Yes, the Fa family shrine would be amazing.
Oh yeah, some beignets. We need a beignet card.
All right, now we're just listing everything.
But yeah, now we're just listing locations. Obviously, there's a lot of locations that can come. I think we're all very excited for this. This is going to be something that's going to incredibly change the game and give us a whole new way to play. Decks are going to change. Archetypes are going to change. Everything's going to change. Plain and simple. Everything's changing. But we want to say thank you to everyone for listening to this episode of the Glimmer Gang Podcast. Let us know what you thought. Let us know what you guys think of locations, and we will see you all in the next one.
Glimmer on! I beat him to it.
No, you didn't.
Have a glimpse
Is that what you're
I
gonna
have
do
wanted
every
to
week
do.
now?
I have wanted to do that for so long.
That's hilarious.
Here's the thing.
No, Blake,
Here's
don't
the
take
thing.
that from me. Don't do that.
He does beat you.
He's so funny.
He's gonna do it too. That's the thing. What a
Oh
weird-ass
my
nut.
God.
As he should.
That's
Oh my
hilarious.
gosh.